Everyone. We are in the sequence of yet another webinar in which we will be talking about the remote ways of working. The webinar setup, as we set it up in the last week as well, is being organized by Agile PK Islamabad chapter. What Agile PK is doing their best to bring the agility and the agile culture in Pakistan and helping the communities of Pakistan industry, be it the software industry, technology, media, or whatever it is. Is you know that we have been forced to work from our homes due to this pandemic situation of COVID-19. This has imposed a lot of challenges. Uh, People are dealing with different sort of situation. 1 year ago, nobody would have thought that their companies would be asking them to work from home, stay safe, and do whatever best they can while being at home. It might have coined them a bit weird, but then a month ago, like everywhere in the world, in Pakistan, we also, every office has started to go into the work from home mode. That triggered a lot of things. People started enjoying it initially, that yes, we won't be going or we won't be bothered to go to office every day, we will be enjoying work at home. But then they realized that it's a bit tough and it's a bit difficult situation. And for a month or so, a few people have conquered the situation and they are enjoying it and they have been more productive. But yet there are a lot of people who have a lot of questions, who have a lot of queries, who have a lot of concerns, and they want to know how they're going to be more productive and how they succeed while working in remote. So, the session is about the leadership in remote ways of working. And to deliver this session with me, we are privileged to have Mr. Khurram Bhatti, who have almost 2 decades of experience in agile coaching. He's currently associated with PayPal. He's from Sweden. Thank you, Khurram, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Misam. So I would say this is my very first this kind of webinar where I have a very less interaction with the people. Usually I try to involve people as much as possible, but let's try to see how we can do it through comments. So yeah, good. I mean, for those of you who have been working from home for some time, I have shared two screens, pictures on the screen. If you can see that, I hope you can see that.
Yes.
Yeah, so everyone is going through some interesting and challenging situations. But yeah, well, so when thinking about the topic, I felt like during this situation, it's very important to not only talk about the tools and the processes, but very much talk about the behaviors that everyone needs to show. And when I mean by leadership in this session, I really much focus on not only on the managers or the leaders in your organizations as a leadership person, but I really look forward and hope that everyone thinks of themselves as a leader. Because if we just rely on other people to do certain things for us, then we are not achieving the sense of team. So a little bit about me. My name is Khurram Bhatti, and my background is has been in programming and software quality. I have education in coaching, facilitation, and leadership from Coach Training Institute, from CRR Global, Scrum Alliance, IC Agile, and some of the education I also received from Swedish Defense University. I do have a background in programming and software quality, but over the time, I really felt like I really want to understand how the people are working with each other. So in terms of creating teams, group dynamics, understanding different personalities, and that led me to this path of coaching and facilitation and training. And I have been doing that for past 10 years overall experience. And I really look forward. It's something that I feel like it's I really enjoy doing this thing because I get to learn each day and interact with the people from different places. So as Mr. mentioned, I have some experience. I am authorized instructor for IC Agile, their Agile coaching track, which has coaching and facilitation courses, and also trainers for certified trainer for the training from the back of the room. So this is very much focused on how you design your learning workshops, how you can make them more engaging. I'm also a member of International Coach Federation. So all in all, this really much defines me as a coaching, facilitation, and trainer point of view. And I really enjoy it, and I really look forward helping others to grow in the same domains as well. So for this purpose, just like Pakistan Agile Development Society, we also have one initiative which is called Pakistan Agile Scrum Exchange. Based on that, we were the first to introduce the CSM courses and the CSPO in Pakistan. But I really much appreciate the Pakistan Agile Development Society has invited me for this webinar. And I really look forward to have more of similar conversations.
It's a pleasure for us as well, Khurram.
Yes, and exactly. I always believe in the teamwork, in collaboration, and helping each other to grow. And we cannot do everything on our own. We really need to have some collaboration happening. So pleasure is mine as well. So the next, I would say that if I touch on the history of remote ways of working, it has been happening in one or the other way. You might have heard about outsourcing, nearshoring, and all those ways with distributed, co-located teams with different kind of organization structure. It has existed earlier. I got an opportunity to work with the startup company where the teams were located on 6 to 7 different locations. I got a chance to work like 6 different cultures. But the most nice thing about that was like I could travel to different locations and meet people in person, get a connection, and reduce this psychological distance. I have been working with both remote teams and co-located teams, and when I was sitting together with people very close to me, I often find themselves that it's difficult to create a mental connection. But sometimes it was very easy to communicate with the people from different regions, and I realized that it's very much about not the physical distance, but very much about the psychological distance. And if we say that, I think with this pandemic of COVID-19, it has changed very much. So in my opinion, the remote work is not the same as it used to be before the pandemic, because right now everyone is remote. So people earlier, one could travel to office, communicate with team members from the different regions, but right now people they lack movement, and they're missing the social aspect as well. So this has changed. For me, this talk will not be very much focused on which framework that you can use. It can help you, but I really would like to touch upon the human level and helping or sharing my experiences from changing your mindset and trying to be more experiential in this journey. So, I mean, since we are working in the Agile domain, it's it's not easy to get with the 4 values of Agile Manifesto. But here, I would like to highlight the 2, which I felt like very close connection. Of course, all of them are very relevant, but for me, it was like, okay, excuse me, which are the one that could be very much relevant to this conversation as well. And those of the one are two of them: individuals and interactions over processes and the tool. And often I have seen that people forget that it doesn't mean that we are skipping tools and processes, but we always need to be mindful that we need to have the processes and the tools that support our individual interactions. And right now in this situation, I feel that there is a more need of supporting tools and supporting processes that can enable your team to deliver on the expectations that you have set on them. So it could be we are still individuals, but we have moved into more of electronic or e-interactions, and we need supporting. And the statement in the middle is very important. It's like definitely we value the item on the left, but if we there is a value on the right, we will value the items on the left even more. But under the understanding current situation, I see that there is a more balance coming up. And the second thing is responding to the change or following a plan. I think with this pandemic, those organizations which are not adopting to this situation, they might be struggling in near future, because it's the same thing. It's a mindset that you need to welcome feedback, and the feedback in this environment is this in an unfortunate way, which is the pandemic, and we cannot continue working from our office together. So we need to adopt and respond to this change with more openness and with more innovative thinking that we can come off. And this in this talk that I'm just trying to connect on how we can welcome the change and how we can have more individuals and interactions more possible using perhaps different tools. Okay, moving forward. Yes. So I really like quotes from Rumi. I don't remember all of them, but often in my presentations I refer to them because they're a lot. They make a lot of sense to me. So now we are learning new things, and in order to learn new things, we need to unlearn new things, unlearn the things that we have been doing. So it's like, how do we used to do the face-to-face communication? How do we used to interact? How we used to discuss? How do we used to share information with each other? I think all of those objectives will remain the same, but we need to think how we can make them possible while working in this current situation. So we do need to recognize that we have to unlearn certain things and learn new ways of thinking in order to adopt in current situation. So yeah, this question is very much to the audience. If there are people who have joined us, I would like to ask this question and miss them how people can comment it back. How can we get to know what people are saying?
Yeah, we can see the comments that or the feeds that are coming to our way in the right panel. I guess you can also see them, and certain things are also popping up onto the screen as well. So right now, the people are enjoying this conversation, the topic that we have chosen. So this is the current situation, the comments that we have got. Uh, there are, as you have floated a question, myth of the changes. I mean, the first myth or the first thing that comes to everyone's mind, or what noticed I about my team, or a few fellows that I know working in certain organizations, that they were first were very thrilled that yes, we don't need to bother to come to office every day, so we're gonna spend a lot of time with our family and we'll be staying home.
Oh yes.
uh yeah, but things in early days, I mean a week or so, were not that good. Obviously they were not tuned up for this. Their working style and their family living style were quite different than to have an environment where you can easily manage things working remotely. As you also mentioned, that this kind of working is not new, especially in the consultancy sort of role where you support your clients working remotely. But then again, you have a certain place in an office. You must be sitting in your organization or somewhere else. You have peace of mind. You have a proper table and sitting area, working, and in the families and in working from home. You tend to have a lot of interruptions while working, or it becomes a challenge for you. So the myth was that everything would be fine and everybody would be enjoying. Wasn't be the case. How the thing was at your end, or in your colleagues?
Yeah. So the question that I'm very much interested to ask to the people is like, so the myth that I'm trying to refer to is like, had we ever thought that everyone will go remote all of a sudden? Had we ever thought that all of a sudden universities will start offering online courses? Had we ever thought that all of a sudden the traveling will be banned? We won't be able to to have any movement. So the point is like there have been certain myths, and with this pandemic, those myths have been, I mean, I would say, wrong in one way, one or the other way. So yeah, so that is the something that would be good to be mindful of. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see
Yeah.
as the people join, as the people share their opinions, will definitely bring into the notice of everyone. So
Yeah.
obviously,
Absolutely.
no one would have thought about this. Absolutely no one. As I mentioned in the intro, so I guess it would have been a weird sort of feeling if your company would have asked you to stay home, work from home, and you would have seen everyone staying at home. None of the courses, universities, meetings, or the gatherings could be done. There is total social distancing. I don't think so. Anyone would have thought. But let's hear from the audience as well as we gather their comments and share it to you guys as well.
Yes. So please share your myths that you think that have been changed for you. Just to be mindful that we have limited time for this talk. We might not be going into too much details. I know that we have allocated like almost 70 to 75 minutes for this conversation. But moving forward, like often what happens is um, we think too much on the downside. But the next question that we can ask is what working from home enables you to do that you couldn't do before. So just question to our viewers, would you like to answer like to this question, and what working from home enables you to do that you couldn't do before while you were working from office? Anyone would
Uh,
like to share?
I saw a comment from Mr. Jawad Ahmed, good one, that we were adoptive of things, but before we were shy of these things.
Yes. So that's I would say it's very sad, but that's becoming a new reality. And I
Yeah.
think this is also helping us to think from a different perspective as well. And that's what we will be trying to highlight a few of things. But just to, I did a check in with my teams that I'm working with. So most of them they said, "Oh yes, this is very sad situation," but people have been having more family time. Of course, it's difficult to work from home. They are having more family time. For myself, I'm having more family time. I don't need to commute too much. I can easily save like 2 to 3 hours of commuting. I'm becoming more flexible. I'm sometimes feeling more productive as well. And the same are these shared by the teams as well. And the another thing that has happened is that the most of the time, I think face-to-face communications are very, very rapid, and you can understand each other very quickly. But most of the knowledge were in the form of the test knowledge. Only people knew it, but now people are and the teams are realizing it that they need to document certain aspects, for example, architecture, high-level views, so the other people can also are involved into the conversation as well. But moving forward, the question remains to our viewers. Think about the myths that you have seen changed in this pandemic, and share with us what are how working from home enable you to do the things that you couldn't do before.
Yeah, a few more comments for you, Khurram, on your
Yes, go
question,
on.
that what has enabled you.
Hmm.
A person shared Essence Alamat says that, I guess, first he said savings, and then he further elaborated that spending quality time with family. One other person says that we are more into the digital world now. Commute time is being saved and time spent a bit more productive. These are all the comments that people are, or feedback that people are sharing.
Yeah, excellent. And I just saw a comment from Asan Salamat. The senior citizens are taking keen interest in the technology, so that's also good because
Yeah,
we cannot interact with each other face to face, but with technology right now, we are having this conversation.
yeah, that,
So, yeah, moving to the next part. how I have divided this conversation is into four parts. So the first one is talking about the individual, like persons. Second is on team level. Third is on the leadership or management level. Fourth is the organization. Just try to see from where we can introduce the change and how we can work with it together. So individuals. I found this funny picture, and I feel like I get more message across when I use the pictures. There are certain things I would say that before waiting for other people to do something for us, we need to be mindful that there are certain things that we need to do ourselves first, because we're also part of the team. And if you look from the systemic coaching, we are part of one system, which with whom and other systems as well, with whom we're interacting. System could be your family, system could be your work, and system could be your social circle and friends. So you are interacting with all those people, so you have an impact one or the other way. And yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I refrain from introducing more agile frameworks because there are already plenty of them and people are playing with them. But my focus is to understand how the change can be introduced, and the next step is how it can be sustained. So this is the agility of change. If you already have heard, excellent. If not, then let's take a look at it together. So it has two parts. First is on, oh, I have a laser that I can use. Okay, so here, the primary identity is like who we are right now. And then the secondary identity is who we are becoming. So what is happening right now is that there is shift happening from our primary identity and going into the secondary identity. We have been working from office most of the time, but now what is happening is we need to move to the secondary identity. And it could be this way. If I use some very familiar keywords with it, so the left side is very much familiar, the things which are familiar to you. For example, going to the office, commuting, meeting your friends, interacting with your family, having some activities. Those are the things which are very familiar. And now what is happening is we we need to cross this edge, and we are emerging right now. So as you mentioned me some at the start of this conversation, is like, oh, earlier people were thinking, oh, this will be awesome, but now when the things start happening, people have to work from home and they have to focus on the work, they have to focus on the family. So what is happening is the shift is happening from familiar to emerging. And emerging could be situation in terms of our ways of working, it could be in terms of our processes, it could be in terms of our tools, it could be in terms of our product roadmap, it could be anything. But the one important thing that I would like to highlight is how does this change can happen. So there are three kind of it's from Arnold and Margaret. There are three kinds of people or mover. The first are the leapers. The leapers are the one who are the first to accept the change, and they just go for it. They are very adaptive and they are very agile. You might have seen the people who will be standing in the first to get a new iPhone or something, and it will be the first person who will be downloading that new library to test how it works with the code, and that will be the first one who just jumps on the thing and just does it. And the next one is the bridge builders. So the bridge builders are the persons who will do some analysis. They will see things happening, but they won't step into the things right away. So they will just sit back, relax, do some of their analysis and their research. They plan out how we're going to do it. But often what happens with the bridge builders is they become a victim of analysis paralysis. But that's good as well, because we can't have everyone all of a sudden going to to this edge all of a sudden. So there will be movements into different um, in different sections as well. And the next one is the tradition holders. So these are the people who are who will be the last to go to this secondary identity or the new environment. The new environment in this case is our remote ways of working. So they are still seeing people are moving, but they will be trying to they keep the information. They will be the last mover, but they want to balance it out. If you want to read more about it, I highly encourage to get to know about that. uh, oh yes, one more most important thing. What it can happen is it can happen that one person can just become move from familiar to emerging, then goes back to familiar, then goes back to emerging, then goes back to familiar. So it could be kind of a zigzag journey as well. But finally, when they have understood the situation, they have more clarity, they have more purpose, they can go to this emerging state as well. What is your particular response type to COVID-19 plus work from home situation? Do you think that you're a leaper, are you a bridge builder, or you are a traditional holder? So please share that in the comments.
I guess we would be having a lot of leapers. I hope so. Another comment from Mr. Jawad Amir while we were speaking. Uh, Learning methods came on WhatsApp and on virtual media. Yeah, of course. And coordination made better if we work in a corporate sector. Uh, there are certain limitations, but some people are going more productive in this scenario. He's quoting his own example that he took a lot of sessions, events, classes that he couldn't take before. Obviously, he has more time now. Yeah, we have Mr. Hassan Salamat who suggests himself is a leaper. He jumps into
Okay.
things.
Yeah, Cham, good for you, Hassan. But anyone else would like to share what is your particular response type to this situation?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
What was yours? If I may ask, Khurram, how would you rate yourself? Or were you a leaper, or you were just sitting behind watching people how they react on COVID-19, and then you adjust yourself?
Yeah, I think I was not expecting that question back to me, but that's a good one. So I think being coaching the teams is very important. That we in this role, we are the people who can be the leapers. That we just jump into the situation, and can be also the bridge builders as well. So for me, I think I already had experience working in the remote setting. So I would say that I was in between the leapers and the bridge builders, because I have to see how my teams are doing and how I can help them to achieve to take this journey. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah.
A comment from Ashi Iram. It's like a leapfrog strategy for her.
Yes. So you can give it any term that you are
Yeah,
already familiar with. It's very much about how people respond to the change, and particularly in this pandemic and work from home situation.
yeah.
So
Most of
the
the
next
people have mentioned that they are leaper. Please move forward then.
okay. So the next one is so you have recognized that how you see yourself, but do you? So this is a question for yourself and for other people as well. Like, what would help you to cross the edge? And some, if you are a bridge builder or like tradition holder, uh, or even leaper as well, like what has helped you, and what could help you to cross this edge? Anyone, if anyone would like to share?
Yeah. So if I was to answer that, I would um, also rate myself rather a leaper sort of a person. I do not wait. I kind of a person who is ready for the challenges, and this COVID-19 was nothing different. So uh, not for me, but I started it with my team. I sent them first, especially the female staff. Obviously, there are certain dynamics in Pakistan that are different. Uh, Here, the female staff used to commute with the officially provided facilities, and those were blocked. So we took a decision. So instead of asking them to join from a taxi service, maybe Kareem or Uber, maybe we should ask them to stay home. And because in technology, like we guys are, it's a bit easier for us to tackle the situation, or to adopt this change, because we can do the working from home as well. It's not sort of a job that we have to be in our offices. So without thinking much, I just asked my team, because I was confident enough that yes, there would be certain challenges of communication with the team, but let's give it a try. Obviously, it was inevitable one day that we all had to go to home. So let's start from my team. So this is how I adopted this, or I moved toward this thing.
Yeah, good. Thanks for sharing, Mr. And that's what we need to ask ourselves and our teams as well. Like, we are moving to the remote ways of working in this situation. What help they need to take the step. Yeah. So the next is I'm still focusing on the individual aspect. I came across this very nice image and I wanted to share with you. I don't know the source, but it's like, what do I do with the during COVID situation? Are you mostly in the fearful situation that you spread emotion related to your anger? You complain very frequently, or you forward all the messages without even verifying the correct messages. The next one is so the next is like the learning zone, where you are finding this opportunity to to uh, you can control your emotions, and you are understanding the information what is going around you. uh, you are trying to influence as much as possible the things that you can change, rather than changing rest of the people in your surrounding as well. And you're trying to do your best as well. And the third zone is the growth zone. And I would say connect that this is very much relevant to the agile mindset as well, that you are using this opportunity to learn new skills. You are empathetic with yourself, and you're also empathetic with other people as well. You appreciate yourself, and you're also appreciating others, and you're respecting others' emotions in whatever state they are. So it's like a very nice illustration of moving from fear zone to learning zone, and finally to the into the growth zone. And the next question could be, what do you think? In which zone you are? What is your own reflection so far? In which zone you are right now?
Yeah, okay. Khurram, can you maximize this screen? I guess the first part is a bit tiny. I don't.
Yes.
If
So
it
yes,
could
this
be
is Tani. I don't
reduced,
know.
yeah, yeah. It
I'm
could be
not sure if
sent
I
to
will
full screen
maximize.
mode. Okay, okay,
Uh,
okay. Then
yeah. So it might
cool then.
pixel it because this is an image.
Okay, okay.
Mm. So I think if you think about fear zone, it's very much okay. What is you are in very much concerned or emotional state, and you can't even control your emotions.
Yeah.
So, question to you guys: what do you think? What is your zone in the in current situation? Okay, people are sharing in growth zone.
Yeah.
That could easily be related to people who are leapers, because they see the opportunities and they just jump into it and try to best utilize their team. But the models that I'm presenting here, of course, we're trying to make this. Uh, and there is a comment that yes, I think everyone started from the fear zone, but it depends for how long you remain in those zones. So some people might still be in the fear zone, and some people have shifted from fear to learning zone, and some people have already into the growth zone, and they are capitalizing on the opportunity which is given.
So is
Yeah.
it possible, Khurram, that person is in the learning zone and goes to the growth zone, and suddenly he or she can drag back himself or herself into the fear zone. Does it happen?
I think so. It can happen, and because we are not very much boxed into certain emotions and feelings, and these models are just one way to represent where we are standing. So I would expect that it can happen that people are moving from zone in from day to another day because the situation can change. Uh, so I would, I mean, I think that can happen.
Yeah. So you can go forward and backward both ways.
Yes. Yeah. So another reason that I'm sharing all these models, I would appreciate that you can use the similar models with your team and see how they are assessing themselves together. So now moving on, I think again the thing that I mentioned in the start, like, are we waiting for someone to act on behalf of us and tell us what to do? uh, is is the leadership a trait or it can belong to anyone? So I would say, using this time, and the couple of things that I have tried myself and I have been also been suggesting other people as well, I think this is a really good time to take a pause and reflect, do some reflection on the things that you have been doing, and what sense it makes to you, and what are the things that you want to do, how you want to get out of this situation, and right now you are in this situation, so what are the different actions that you can do? Next is, I see, I'm really glad that a lot of people are learning new skills. I think that's very good that considering the situation, we should definitely spend this time learning new skills. However, I would suggest that be mindful to learn those skills which can be very much relevant to current situation, so you can feel more confident. And some of the skills that I can suggest is focus on more on your communication skills in terms of you communicating with the remote teams. It could be written communication, it could be verbal communication, or it could be how to keep your audience engaged in your meetings as well. It could be facilitation skills, it could be coaching skills. So I mean, it's needless to mention, but try to use your time in the best the way possible. And working from home is not an easy work. As you mentioned earlier, in the start it was a lot of fun. People were thinking that, oh, we are working from home, it will be easy for us, but it is not easy. For some people it's a lot of work. They need to help their kids for their education, they have to do some household work, they also have to work. Try to define some alliance with your family that you, when you're working, perhaps you can get some focus time. As this is, I also have done, like, if I have an important meeting, I tell everyone that you can sit in the room, but please don't make a noise, because then I will be distracted. And then in between I take breaks and just to interact with it. So those could be like three areas where you can spend your time. Take some reflection, spend some time to reflect, learn new skills and related to the situation and how you can utilize it in the future, and define some work from home kind of expectations from each other. Yeah. So we covered so far the individual part, and the next one is the team. How I have been working with the remote teams is I always try to suggest them in the form of an experimentation. You might recognize these cartoon characters from your childhood cartoons, Dexter and Dee Dee. Uh, so moving to the team part, ask your team to do more of experimentation. Right now, we are into this very volatile and in a very volatile and uncertain situation. What happens next week, for next month, not so many people in the team might know. People don't even know, might know in the project as well. Companies are laying off, but in this situation, as a team, help each other to define a sense of purpose, define some clarity, sense of belonging, and involving in decision making. So the first thing that I always suggest, that when you have moved from co-located space to the all of a sudden remotely, spend some time spend some time together and see what are your working agreements in this environment, remote environment. So this is just to help you set expectations. And since, of course, we are working from home, we have plenty of time, but it is important that you time box things, because it can happen that you start very early in the morning and you might end up working late night. That might be counterproductive to yourself and your team as well. But just try to define some mm, uh, work hour time box where you think you will be focused and working together. Do we have any questions so far that we can take right now, Misam?
Now a few comments. Yeah, I saw another question. A person wants your recommendation on a book or website or online course. I guess there are so many. You can Google it. Is to polish the communication skills. So specifically, he asked some source whereby he can learn some communicational skills, and the other comments are from the previous slide, so I won't be taking them. So, one
Okay.
question to you, Khurram,
Yeah,
when we
sure.
talk about the teamwork in this pandemic sort of situation where you are socially isolated. I mean, you like to stay home with family a lot of time, but then again you have your colleagues, your friends, you're not meeting them, so you feel a sort of isolation as well, especially when you work as a team. So how do you think so, what do you suggest, what would be the key factor for keeping teams motivated while working remotely? I mean, they have a lot of challenge in communicating while they were sitting together. It's quite easy, but in this remote situation, I mean, there's a lot of traffic of calling on Zoom or maybe on phone calls, and there's a gap of the communication as well, that the challenge arises of the communication. So how do you feel teams can cope up in with this sort of a situation while keeping them motivated as well, and jointly working on a goal?
Yeah. So what you just mentioned is in the next slides, Mr. I would say.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, for myself, I really miss my team and office colleagues. We used to have this hallway communication. We used to have the coffee breaks together, lunches together, and breakfast together. And definitely, we are missing those social times. We cannot bring them back, considering the situation. However, uh, as I mentioned earlier, this is the emerging situation. So we might not get each and everything the way we wanted, but we have to come up with the way that we can keep the objectives in mind. And one way is that I have experimented is the team can set up some scheduled time where they can meet and they can have a more of a social interaction, not only about the work, but they can talk about other things as well. And the next one is you can use mixed communication mediums in a way that definitely if you're using Slack or other text-based communication tool, that's it's sometimes challenging and sometimes it's difficult to understand what other person is saying. So I would suggest that I mean, just try to have a very quick call, voice or video call. We are using Hangout and some other tools, Slack. So what we can do is like just instead of writing for all those 10 to 5 minutes, just make a call and it will be done very quickly. Another thing that I can suggest is try to work on the task where you can do more of a pair programming. And if you want to take it to the next step, you can think about doing mob programming as well. So this will not be very much physical, but at least you will be involved one or the other way into the teamwork, and the people are doing it together. And let's be mindful. Uh, we are all doing everything based with the support from the technology. So we cannot have the same, I would say, interaction, but at least we can have more of a conversation that we're having similar right now. And the next is more programming that I just mentioned. And continuing is I think many people have recommended is that you need to set up some place where you can focus on your work. I know that the kids can show up. It can happen for me right now. Some it could be some dog barking outside. It could be some background noise. Trying to define those, align those expectations with the team. Hey, if the kids show up, then it's fine. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. If there's some background noise, let's try to accept it that this is happening right now, because often it happens that if there's some kind of distraction, people just mute and they don't contribute. So we have to be very open and asking the team to understand the situation and accept each other's reality. The next connecting to the question is the meeting time. I would suggest that use speedy meeting options in a way that you always have 5 or 10 minutes uh, gap between the next meeting. What happens usually, the people book like full 30 minutes meeting or 60 minutes meeting, and they have a next meeting the next minute, and they don't get a time to reflect, they don't get a time to stretch, they don't get a time to just grab something to drink. So try to allocate 5 minutes buffer time. So as soon as you end the meeting, the people can stretch up, grab something to drink, or even have some social interaction time as well. And the same is if there's a meeting scheduled, for example, at 10 o'clock, try to join at 9:55. So people can, before starting any conversation, they can socialize, share about what is happening in their life, and if there are certain challenges they are facing. And the most important thing I would say that try to book a team, try to, with your teams, try to book some sessions where you can give each other some appreciative feedback, because it's not very often that we give feedback to each other. So allocate some time where you appreciate the effort which different people are putting. For example, if someone is working, had to work late for some due to some reasons, appreciate that person, that the person is still committed to delivering to toward the team. So what do you think, Miss? With all these six different options, can it help to have more team motivation, or we still need to think something different?
Yeah, definitely it can. The last one is the most important. I guess we everywhere across the world, feedback is not given or easily, I mean, accepted as well. I mean, we need to be more open. I mean, the feedback should be constructive, especially during this time. I mean, everybody can make mistakes even in this remote kind of working. A hard sort of a feedback or very strict sort of a feedback might let down their spirits. So maybe we should uplift their spirits by giving some positive feedback and ask them to share their feedback as well. I guess that is the most important thing, while the others are also having big importance.
Yeah, very spot on, Misam. So it's very good that you involve them one or the other way into the decision making and even in the feedback, because when then people feel more empowered, they feel more engaged. It's not that you're doing the work for sake of the doing the work, but you're actually contributing to the team. Activities that you can try as a team together, which is called activity bingo. Uh, Come up with the different points that you want to work. I hope everyone knows about the bingo, but you can use this activity. For example, ask people to create their team logo. When they're if they're having some stand up, they can wear a hat. They can share their favorite recipe. They can do some 5 minute stretch together. They can facilitate some remote meeting. If you have learned something new, they can share it. So this way, it can also help the team members to be more engaged, because then it's a very much team activity. I don't know how often the people can go outside in the regions that you guys are, but if you want to go out and attend a meeting, that's also one of the activity. But the purpose is to do these different team activities to make them more engaged and involved into the things which are happening inside the team.
Yeah, yeah. So I got a comment, in fact, a query
Yes.
from Ms. Aisha Javed. How to overcome like work is more productive but mindset of the company is hardcore, that no, you have to spend extra time, weekends on, because work is less. I mean, there is it's typically to the company or corporate sort of a culture that she's referring to. I mean, this is a sad part as well. A few companies do such thing, but how do you overcome such sort of a situation?
Yes, absolutely. I'm more than happy to answer. And I think the question that you have asked is in the next section, because I mentioned I'm covering the individual part, I'm covering the team part, and the next is the leadership. And there
Okay.
I would like to spend a bit more time, because that is the core, where they need to be more flexible, and letting the people to more relax and do their work. So yes, Aisha, we will definitely come back to that point in a while. The next is the continuing the bingo. This is more fun. It's very popular conference called bingo because it can happen. Before this conversation, before this webinar started, Missam and I were spending like a few minutes together. If we can hear each other, if the screen is shared, if he can see me or I can see him, and so those kind of all the things that can be done. And often it can happen that, oh, you're on mute and you're not talking. So the purpose of these activities, I have been using it with my teams in remote agile teams. It's These are very minimum things, but just to add some fun, just to help people to, hey, we are not only thinking about the work all the time. Let's try to make it more human, and let's try to make it more purposeful while having this work. Yeah. So moving forward, I also created some models. If you want to use them, feel free to use them. The team heartbeat model. So how you can use this model is to ask your team, hey guys, in this remote ways of working, what is close to your heart and what is away from your heart. So it could be the things which are very close to the heart, they can be inside this heart, and the things which are very far from the heart, the things that they don't like. For example, one example is that you don't want to spend extra time during weekends. So this could be coming up in outside the heart. Oh, guys, I feel like I don't like it, because this model I try to visualize, focusing on the emotions and the feeling of the people, the team member. So you can use any example. Feel free to use it, and if you have any feedback, please let me know as well. And next is also the similar one. If you are working with different teams, how you can work together with those teams. So in this case, the team on the left could be your development team or any team, and the team on your right could be management team. And you can have this conversation. Okay, what connects us together? What are the things that we appreciate about each other? And in this conversation, you can mention that. But to have these kind of conversations, it's very important that the team members or the people have this safety in their mind, that they can say the things that they want to say. Often it can happen that if it's a manager, then you don't dare saying anything, but then it's counterproductive for the team. It's also counterproductive for yourself as well. So express yourself, share your observations, share your feedback, because you are part of that system. And if you're not enjoying that, if you're not having fun, then definitely you are not productive as well. I mean, if you think like that. So we covered the individual part and the team part. The next and the second last part is the leadership. I would say leadership in terms of management. If you are an agile coach or you are working as a scrum master. But there is one key aspect here. I think that the leadership is not only for these roles. The leadership is everyone who is in the team is a leader. We need to just step up. We need to be more mindful about the situational leadership, that where are the points and where are the opportunities that you can contribute. You might not be able to contribute all the time, but think about the situations where you can step up and share. If you are good with the documentation, with the communication, and someone mentioned that wants to improve the communication, why don't you ask your colleague or your team member, hey, I need to practice few things, and could you please help me? So Get help from your peers, because the most important thing is to use the collective wisdom. And this could also be beneficial to create some social bonding as well. Yeah. So next is yes. So it's very much a question that was asked to me. Trust. How do people, how the management trust that if you are actually doing the work that you are supposed to do? That is a bit unfortunate situation. I would say that if your manager or your company doesn't trust you while working from home, then why would you work with them? If the trust factor or the communication is not there, I don't know how it will be very much productive, because then you have this unconscious thing going all the time, that uh, that oh, I have to finish this thing, and I don't know. I mean, this could be one thing to help your teams to step out. And the situation is that now we are into this new reality for the leaders and whoever is in that role. Understand the importance of people skill, understand the importance of facilitation and your coaching skills, and try to have more meaningful conversation with your team. One way that you can give is the things that you have been working with, try to reiterate what was the impact. Help your team to understand how they are contributing to the goals of the team, and how they are contributing to the goals of the organization as well. Reiterate what is the meaning of the work that you are doing as a team member, and what is the meaning of the work that the team is doing. So this is a really good opportunity that you can come back next is I would like to focus on like two, three important skills that you need to have. Which, of course, no one can negate to the importance of the communication skill. Try to communicate with a listening mindset. Don't communicate with the so this is a message to the leadership team. Actually, listen, communicate to listen, and don't just communicate to give the orders. I mean, if you don't trust them, then I don't know how you are gaining any benefit out of it. If people are, even if people are working during the weekends, then you need to communicate with them productive time. So try to have more meaningful conversation with them. And the next is um, to act like the best boss or the people. You are there to support your team and not to micromanagement them. I would highly recommend not to do micromanagement. Like if you are away for 5 or 10 minutes, you keep getting messages and you keep getting emails that where have you spent that time, why did you spend your time there. But try to understand that people are in a different situation now. They might be going through some personal challenge and they want to take a break. So understand them connectively. And just to how you can do that is excuse me, how you can do that is try to connect with the people at the human level. I mean, suddenly remote people might feel disengaged. People might be feeling lonely, they might be feeling disconnected. I would say that in this very unprecedented situation with remote work and pandemic at the same time, try to create more personal bonds, and share and ask about the things which are happening in the person as a manager or whoever is responsible. I think I have experienced that when people are working from home, they feel more relaxed, and they don't waste too much time because they want to get the things done. And don't let this happen that if the person is out of sight, then it is out of your mind as well. And another tip could be do that try to schedule regular check-in. Could be weekly, bi-weekly, and earlier it could have been very beneficial that we can travel to meet the persons, but no, it is not possible. So try to have a voice communication, or even possible, preferably, try to have some video communication as well. Right. So, Mr. My question: how much time are we left with? I know we had
Uh,
70 to 75 minutes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We have. I mean, we already reached an hour's time. I mean, the talk was so impressive and interesting that I just noted that 60 minutes have gone past. So we are left with 15 more minutes. While we were discussing this, I was also thinking about one thing and that I have found a bit relevant with this current situation, and I thought to put it as a query to you. So, how
Yeah,
do you
absolutely.
see teams? I mean, when this remote kind of working is being done, when they see the managers or the team members or the senior ones in front of them, or while they are sitting together under one roof, they do not find it difficult to start doing what they want to do or what is in their plate or what is to be done. But in this remote kind of working, I guess there is also a challenge that the people start losing that leadership kind of thing or essence that is required in agile mindset. So you are a self-organized team, but uh, suddenly this goes I mean, this is removed and teams start again looking at the boss. Whenever they will be getting a call, they might start working on a certain task. So how do you see is it happening? I guess you must have seen that as well. And how do you address this? What do you suggest that with this remote thing, that leadership, I guess, it still exists, that the team have to adopt that changes?
Absolutely. And I think I totally agree with this unfortunate situation. Uh, I think that's the main and the key point with all those starting from the individual. And when I talk about the individual, it's not only about a developer or a QA role. It could be a manager, it could be a CEO, and they need to be more open and mindful that uh, let build more understanding. Actually, I don't know. Just to be open, do they want to own a company of monkeys, or do you want to own a company of people, intelligent people? So they
Obviously,
need to,
intelligent
yeah.
people. Yeah.
If, for example, I don't. I mean, sometimes I don't understand. I think this is a very famous quote from Apple. I don't. I just try to convey the gist. We don't hire people, intelligent people, and tell them what to do. We hire intelligent people so they can tell us what we need to do. So
Yeah,
that is the
absolutely.
mindset shift, actually, because otherwise, if you just want a person just to code your stuff and do as you want or ask them to do, but then you are, I mean, this is my personal opinion, you might disagree, but then that's a bit unfortunate that people will be able to contribute. And that will ultimately lead to the disengagement because the person is not able to contribute something. The person is not able to use own ideas, and this will happen that the person is not involved. So it can also lead to the situation that person will don't care about what is happening in the team because the person doesn't care. The role was just to do the coding or develop this feature or write this report, but did you ask them, hey, can we do this in a different way? I know this is my proposal. I would suggest that before suggesting your proposal as a leader or a manager or a boss, ask your team for their input first. Because it can happen that when the boss said something, then no one dares to say anything else. And I have literally seen that happening in audience of 10 people, in the audience of 50 people as well. But the next point might also come back to this point as well that I mean, realign your expectations. So this is very much on this one. Okay, do we still expect that person that we need to talk to that person? We always aim to make a self-organizing team with some, but however, I found that I think when the expectations are clear, the boundaries are defined, the teams can deliver more. And I would suggest your manager or your leaders, and even in your team members as well, don't leave people in the dark and try to be open with them. Tell them how their role has changed. Tell them how the team objectives have changed. Tell them how the project information has changed. And tell them about any important information. And try to be very much open with them, because if you are not open, then it can lead to very much command and control. Even if you are working with agile team or in an agile organization, and if you are demonstrating these behaviors, I would be very sad to say that and be blunt that the person is wasting on potential and the knowledge, and also not using the collective wisdom of the team as well. Do you think, Missam, did it help you to answer some of the things that you mentioned?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. One more question, Khurram, as
Yes.
you rightly mentioned, that comes after this. If the team is, I mean, taking the decisions and showing that they are self organized as well, sometimes it happens that they might commit an error. So, how to overcome that fear? I guess sometimes teams are a bit more in that fear zone, that if we took that
Yes.
initiative on working on their own and we might commit a mistake, how things then would go and would unfold. So how do you address that?
So, I mean, if you are expecting people they will not make mistake, then you're taking them, considering them angels, or you consider them as robots. We learn by doing something, and of course, if that mistake has happened, is that mistake by intention, or is that mistake just happened? If a manager or someone keeps on pointing to those mistakes, that person definitely needs some help. That person is not helping the team to grow, but that person is becoming a huge impediment. The thing can happen is that if you learn new skills, if you try out some new practices, it's very much possible that the things will not go as expected. And that's what Agile asks you. Use that opportunity with an open and growth mindset to learn something, what we can learn from it. I would highly suggest the leadership and the managers and even the team members. I'm highly emphasize even the team members. If something goes wrong, uh, root cause analysis is nice thing, but sit down together and think as an open-minded, with this assurance that we are trying to learn from each other. What next steps we can do to avoid this thing from happening? Because if you are not making mistakes, then I think we are not learning anything new. So that's my
Yeah,
opinion. Yeah.
absolutely true. Absolutely true.
So the next point, continuing, availability, and for the managers, excuse me, and for the people who are responsible for the people, please make yourself available for other people. Ensure that you are available during the work hours of your time zone or the work time zone. Don't leave people waiting for you because you are a boss and you want to show your ego, because you are the most important person in the room. You are not available just to show your importance. Don't do that. Provide them as much information as possible and let them decide, because then you are enabling them. They can decide. Often the managers or those people in this position have this fear that, oh, if the team is doing everything, then how my role will go into. But then you need to start thinking about your role from micromanagement to enabling people. Because if, I mean, think about this situation. I was recently coaching a person, and that person was responsible for taking all the decision. I asked this question to the person: what will happen if you go to 1 or 2 weeks vacation? And the person replied that, oh, I will receive a lot of calls. And then I asked, okay, would you enjoy that vacation where you're still working and receiving a lot of calls? And the person didn't appreciate that situation. So one way that you can delegate decision making is in this model. You can search on delegation poker. I can briefly explain how this model works. Have a very open and friendly conversation within your teams and with your managers and who are responsible. So the M is for manager. So is the manager telling you what to do? Is the manager selling you the idea and you do it? Is manager consulting with you? Is it something that the manager and the team agrees together? Is it that, hey, manager takes a role of coach, and the team discusses something, they come to some decisions. However, the manager can give some advice and the tips. The next is the team totally makes a decision, and the manager can ask, hey, what decision did you make? And the last one is that, guys, it's up to you, whichever tool you want to use, whichever way the documentation that want to use. I totally trust you. So this is a great opportunity for the teams and the management to have the conversation. So now you see that the manager is moving more from management to typical management to more of a coaching and facilitating. So this can have more. I think this is a very popular term, which is called psychological safety. So you need to create the psychological safety in your team, that the people can give you different opinion. Um, yes. So the next is the technology support. Once we are done, we can take more questions. Yes, we are working remotely, but the people are limited uh, in terms of technology. Help your team to provide the tools which they can best communicate. If this is Hangout, it could be Zoom, it could be XYZ. Talk with your team and try to understand their needs and provide them the communication tools. Help them with providing the work or backlog management tools. It could be Trello, it could be Jira, it could be GitHub project, it could be anything. Help them with the tools where they can interact with each other. In terms of presentations, having more interactive meetings where they can lead to more engagement. If they have only the hammer and they think every problem is a nail, they will just try to use only that hammer. So help your team, and I reiterate that coach and facilitate and help your teams to grow. This is a really good opportunity. Don't overthink about losing your role, but this could be really good opportunity for the people who are in the lead role to think differently. Yeah. The last is the organization, and I think if we are still not able to understand how we can all these the models or the tools and the techniques and the advices that I have been able to present from my experience, I would suggest experiment with them. If you like them, you can take it. If you don't like it, I would be more than happy to understand what was the different thing that it didn't work out for you. The organization is a very big message to the management, if to the to the boss or something like that. If you are the smartest person in the room, then you are in the wrong room. This can happen that you're not letting any other person to grow. You are the loudest voice in the room, and people don't feel safe when they hear your opinion and they don't want to give a different opinion. So create more bonding with each other. And the last message could be, if everything around you seems dark as a person, look around. You might be the next leader who can understand this situation, who can step up and change the situation. So don't sit back. Try small experimentation. Talk with your team more openly. Talk with the management about your observation and what different things they can try. If you don't get enough support from your management, try to do some scope experimentation and then share your results, because not everyone is very much just like the leapers, bridge builders, and the tradition holders. Not everyone will move to the next, will be able to cross the edge very quickly. So very quick recap, and then we can be more open to the questions. Yes, so a recap, individual level, we talked about more self-awareness. We talked about reflection. We talked about learning new skills. We talked about setting expectations from the work from home. At the team level, highly recommended. You try mindset, experimentation mindset. Time box your work schedule. Try to socialize during different activities, having coffee breaks or online, playing games even. Use different communication mediums. Have more. Use the meeting more wisely. Have clear agenda. Give each other good feedback. And the last one is leadership. A huge message to the leadership team who are not, who are stressing their remote teams. Be more open, think from the facilitation and the coaching aspect, have more meaningful, and try to understand the people and the team, what is the meaning or the impact of the things that they're doing. Have more open and clear communication, do regular check-in just to get to know how the people are doing, realign your expectations, how the things have changed, be available to support and help your teams. And at the end, technology, sport, because if the people are not able to communicate well over a bad tool, then that can be leading to disengagement and unproductive situation. So, having said that, I think, Misam, now we can open the floor for any questions if we have like five or a few more minutes to answer them.
Yeah, thank you, Khurram, for such a nice session, delivering a very insightful topic and in the areas that you covered. I hope a lot of ambiguity and the queries of our participants or the viewers must have been answered through this session. So we are open for your queries and any other feedback that you guys want to share. Please do share it here. We are here for more 5 more minutes before we wrap it up the session. Before we go for the queries from the participants, Khurram, I have another query. I was just thinking about it.
Yes.
In traditional way of working, we have seen, I mean, in technology, there's a constant sort of a rift going between the development teams and the QA teams, and they sort of are having every sort of I mean, for any delivery or any shipment that is going, QA have so many queries and so many things to be checked by the development team, and so is the case with development team that they might not be working or they might not be looking at to the agreed scope perspective. So in this remote way of working, how do you see this thing going around? I mean, the team in the QA and the development, as you mentioned, pair programming might help in this situation. How the QA and the development sort of relationship goes on in this remote way of working?
So I hear you saying, Misam. I get a feeling that uh, both the QA and the programmer, they lack the meaning and the impact of their work, I would say. I think from what from your description, I get a feeling that they are not working together. However, they are working against each other. It could be that the developers are very much focused on developing, and there is a handover, and the QAs are very much focused on testing and having kind of a rift with developers. And clearly, it's not a teamwork, and it's not very productive. How I have been able to use this, I developed another model which is very much focused on alignment and autonomy. Is that when we are writing the user stories or any requirements, then the QAs and developers are sitting there together. So they are building a common understanding, and the role of the programmer is to implement it, and the role of the tester is to test that. So if the testers are if that is the team setting, having a separate tester than the programmers, if the testers are not involved from the beginning of the feature development, they might lack the understanding how this feature has transformed. They don't understand the history, and they might be asking, coming back to the question, and the developers can say that, oh, this was not like that, we have changed it, and you were not in that meeting. So I would suggest that put the developers and the QAs in the same conversation that you're having with your product owner or the respective stakeholder. um, Another thing is that we had a similar situation with one of my remote teams. So I'm not discouraging to remove those roles, but we put more responsibilities of testing on the developers, because the developers are developing the product. They know more about the product. So if they have made a change in one area, they are responsible to do unit tests. They are responsible to do the integration test of the surrounding area, and the tester then can act as a more of overall integration and the system test. So now they are not working against each other, they are but were they working together. And I
Yeah.
would suggest that have an open communication with the team. Hey guys, is there any better way that we can work? Because I see that this is causing us to be more unproductive with this situation. What do you think, Misan?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I guess in a few firms where they are more predominantly a consultancy sort of a firm, not the software houses, because software houses are more aligned with this agile sort of working, but the consultancy are the guys who are a bit struggling in this mode. So they do implement agile just like a fashion thing. They lack the essence, and this is where, as you rightly mentioned, that teams are not collaborating, which is the essence of agile, and they are working in a separate body where the development team is a separate team and Q is a separate team. And when you combine them and ask them to join in the user stories, I guess that is the spot on thing that will really solve those issues, because they are being part of whatever being built, whatever being discussed right from the beginning.
Yes, and some sadly, I mean, when I am talking with the people, especially in Pakistan industry, what I have observed, my observation can be wrong. I might have a different opinion. So please feel free to give me a different opinion or totally disagree. It's for sake of only doing. So the change has not arrived to the mind yet. I overheard conversation. Oh, you just can have this stand up, have a stand up every day, and then you are agile. But then that mindset is not there, and this is important that have more conversation with the management to understand what they're trying to do, because I think this will very much help the management, because then they are using the wisdom of the people more. Or it could be that the management just want to keep the command and control culture, and there it can happen. If you have some agile bubble, they can just quickly squeeze it. So yeah, reduce silos,
Yeah.
work together. uh,
Yes.
for me to prepare this session, I thought I had to talk about this topic.
Okay, guys, we might having some few technical issues with Quorum, so let's wait for a minute before we conclude. Okay, so I guess Quorum is joining. Yes, Quorum, you are back live.
Yes. So this is another challenge. So things
Yeah.
can happen. Don't panic. Take it easy. And yeah. So I think there could be a lot of things. And if you want to reach out to me, I have my contact details here. I'm more than happy to help you during this journey. Yeah. So how should we end this, Missam? If anyone have any last comments, then perhaps we can take it.
Yeah, just the user wanted to know. Yes, the session is being recorded, and you will have this recording available, posted on Facebook and the YouTube channel of Agile PK Islamabad. So you will definitely get to see it again. If I look a few queries that we left earlier, maybe how about taking one from the user
Absolutely.
was, yeah, there was a query. I guess it's a bit tricky thing, I guess. So let's see how it goes. Ashi asked that what about people who don't know about webinar, or they might not be more technical as we are? I mean, she is also from the technology side. Uh, how how we can work with such people which are not technical?
So
I
the
guess
question could be,
nowadays,
yeah, go
yeah,
on.
please.
So
I guess nowadays everyone is using WhatsApp, Facebook, so it's not that hard. But obviously, for certain people, it might be. So, please, what are your thoughts on that?
first, I need some clarification. Those people are your family members or your work people?
Maybe they are working. There's no more detail written over there, so it's the
Yeah.
only thing that uh, how to work with the essence in the query is how to work with non-technical people.
Yeah. So I think you use the tools which are user friendly, and help the people to understand that we have to use this technology because we are in a situation that we need to rely on this tool. Help them with giving some introduction sessions. I would encourage you, if you have a new tool introduced, introduce that tool to your team members and spend some time together. do some experimentation. Perhaps they can run some experiment webinars or meetings and conversations. It might not work for the first time, but I hope it can work. Think about it. When we, as a kid, we started riding the bicycle. So it did not go very perfect on the first attempt, but we have to fall down a few times, and then we are like very quick. So I think the mindset still is the same. Some people are different. They might be bridge builders, or they are not leapers, and they are like tradition holders. So have conversation with them, but finally they will be there. I would suggest have more open and friendly conversation with them. Don't tell them, oh, you have to use it because we are
Yes.
using it.
Yeah.
Help them understand, why do we need to use it.
Yeah, and by forcing such thing, people might get offended as well. So it might not end up in a good experience. So one more last query, I guess I missed this one as well from Hasan Salamat. How can address the language barriers? For example, I took a training. The trainer was not able to deliver properly because of his dialect. So maybe he wasn't good in English, or maybe the mode of communication was something not common between these two. Maybe how?
I don't know if it's a Scottish comment. It's hard to to understand, but I would like to. This point is very important. Um, Look for the knowledge or the skills or competency that you can gain from others. I would suggest to get out of a colonial mindset. If the person's English is a British accent or American accent, that is the best person in the team, but is a trainer. I would highly like to give you a different opinion. Not English is not everyone's native language. So if you're looking for an accent, I would say listen to the BBC or CNN. But if you're looking for knowledge, if you're looking for having more meaningful conversation, if you're looking for something new to try, overlook this barrier. I think we need to get out of this colonial mindset that if person
Yeah.
is speaking a good English, that is the best person in the whole world. So does that mean if a janitor from English speaking native country gives a other session, that is the best person? I will have a different opinion. Think about people who can give you knowledge and they are able to communicate. Yeah, I mean, just wanted to get that message across. I know that this is kind of a
Yeah.
unfortunate mentality or mindset.
Yeah. Maybe, but he's, I guess, is still connected with us, and just clarifies that he was a Chinese. So obviously they have a different accent. It's hard to grasp that accent. So maybe that was the reason.
Oh yeah, could be. I have worked with Chinese who had a really good accent, and sometime it was struggling. But I don't know in which setting was it. But for me, in my role, I don't want just to preach people about coaching and facilitation. I would very much like to do it by being open and asking people. Okay, it's fine, but it could be different setting.
Yeah. All right, man. So I guess we spent pretty good time, productive and fruitful time. I hope our audience have enjoyed this session. Thanks again, Khurram, for your time. I hope you are staying safe. Everyone is good and healthy in your family, in your surroundings, and obviously the situation won't be different in Sweden. So before we conclude, let's have some closing comments from your side, and then I'll be closing it with my closing comments.
Yes, thank you very much. So first, before I forget, please do share who are still with us. I really appreciate your time. You could have done other things. However, you selected to be in this webinar. I really appreciate your time and effort. I
One
hope you learned
person
some.
is asking about your Facebook ID. Sorry to interrupt, Khurram.
Oh, I mean, I'm not very much on the Facebook, to be honest. If you drop me a message, I might be the one replying to you after 1 year, and you will definitely dislike me. So,
Okay.
I mean, if I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter. I can be reached on Gmail and website. So feel free to connect with me on that. Yes. So coming back to the point, as I mentioned earlier, you could have been doing many other things. However, I really and truly appreciate that you selected to be with us today, have more conversation. And if you are right now, please share what is one thing that you would like to experiment from this session with your teams or with yourself or with your management. If you are listening to this recording afterwards, please leave a comment and share us your learning as well. And coming to my points, I think, first of all, thank you very much for Pakistan Agile Development Society, PADS, for this invitation. And I think while making this presentation, there were a lot of reflection for myself as well, some reminders, the things that I need to do, and have more conversations. I really appreciate, with a growth mindset, I would like to have more conversation where people can give me different opinion, because people are in different situations. So if you have a different situation or have experimented, more than happy to connect back and listen to you. Yeah, so those will be my concluding remarks. Back to you, Misam. What do you think?
Thank you, Khurram. Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, thanks for all the audience, for all their comments and feedbacks, queries. And you rightly mentioned they could have been doing any other thing, but they chose to be with us on this session. So thank you again. And the closing comment from my side, I guess, yes, the world is going through a very hard time, but every hard time has an ending time as well. So soon we all be having a normal life, a routine life, where we all be meeting with each other, and those socializing factor would be back again. But till then, I am very much sure, and I am hopeful. I'm praying all of you guys who are watching, and for the global community as well, that please stay at home. Do take care of your family, of yourself, being a socially responsible person, maintain social distancing, and follow the instruction that your local authorities or administration has given to you. Thank you for the Agile PK Islamabad chapter team for such a wonderful initiative of starting this webinar. And thank you, Khurram, for joining us. And please do watch this space of Agile PK Islamabad chapter on Facebook and on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We'll be coming with more and more webinars. Do send us your feedback or what topic you would like to be touch based upon, what areas that you are facing challenges. Maybe we can call again, Khurram, for another topic. We have a very fruitful discussion today. Thank you, Khurram, again. And till then, it's goodbye from me, Wisam Abbas from Agile PK Islamabad chapter. Thank you.
From Khurram Bhatti. Thank you very much.